Welcome back to the archives. Tonight, we turn our attention to a hypothetical that stretches across the boundaries of reality itself, a question whispered in the dark corners of inquisitorial libraries and debated in the fevered dreams of Mechanicus tech priests. What if the Emperor of Mankind, the master of humanity, the Anathema himself, tore through the fabric of existence and emerged not in the war-torn 31st millennium, not in the dying embers of the 41st, but in a universe entirely different. A place where hope is the first casualty, yes, but hope wearing brighter colors, speaking with the certainty of heroes rather than the grim resignation of survivors. Before we unseal these forbidden records, please take a moment to subscribe and like the transmission. It helps the machine spirit of the algorithm find more loyal citizens. And in the comments below, leave your sector and planetary time. We wish to know where and when you join this vigil. Now dim your lumens, let the hum of your cogitators soothe you, and let us descend into the lore together. You stand at the threshold between worlds, watching as reality itself begins to hemorrhage. Golden light. The breach does not announce itself with the screaming cacophony of a warped tear. No demons claw at the edges of this wound. No Geller fields flicker and fail. Instead, there is a surgical precision to the violence being done to dimensional barriers, a methodical unmaking that speaks of supreme will and absolute understanding. Somewhere in the space between universes, in the quantum foam where probability collapses into certainty, the Emperor of Mankind has decided that the walls separating realities are merely another obstacle to overcome. Perceive the moment of crossing as a psychic shockwave that ripples outward from a fixed point above what this universe calls New York City. Every telepath on Earth 616 staggers. Every mystic clutches their head. Every sensitive soul feels the pressure of a presence so vast that it threatens to redefine what consciousness itself means. In the Sanctum Sanctorum, candles gutter and die. In Xavier's school for gifted youngsters, Professor Charles Xavier gasps and clutches the armrests of his wheelchair, experiencing a mind that makes his own seem like a candle before a star. In Wakanda, the Panther God stirs uneasily in the ancestral plane. The Emperor emerges into real space. 15,000 feet above the city, he does not fall. Gravity in his presence becomes negotiable. You witness him as he truly is in this moment of transition, not the corpse thing chained to the golden throne, not the rotting god emperor of a dying imperium, but the emperor as he was during the Great Crusade. 10 feet of engineered perfection, wrapped in golden artificer armor that hums with technologies that predate human civilization. His face is ageless, neither young nor old. Beautiful in the way that a weapon is beautiful, every line purposeful, every feature designed for maximum impact on human psychology. Some inquisitors claim that no two observers ever see the Emperor's face identically, that each mind interprets the vision through the lens of its own needs and fears. The records are fragmented on this point, lost in the fires of old. Night and the revisionist histories of the ecclesiarchy. His psychic presence expands outward in concentric waves. You feel it wash over the city. Below 8 million minds suddenly aware, on some primal level, that they are being observed by something that could end them with a thought. It is not a hostile sensation, precisely. The Emperor is not here to conquer, not yet. He is here to understand. But the sheer weight of his regard is crushing nonetheless. Pigeons fall from the sky, their simple nervous systems overwhelmed. Dogs howl across 5 burrows. Babies cry in their cribs, while their parents feel an inexplicable urge to kneel. The technical specifications of the Emperor's armor alone would drive a Mechanicus Forge world into rapturous prayer. Each segment of auramite, the same material that will one day clad his custodian guard, is molecularly bonded at a level that makes adamantium seem crude. The power source is not a conventional reactor, but something far older. Perhaps a fragment of technology seized from the vaults of the Sullen or gene cults, or scavenged from the ruins of the Men of Gold. It generates a field that exists partially out of phase with real space, allowing the Emperor to exist simultaneously in the material and immaterial, a necessary adaptation for a being whose consciousness spans both. Around him, the sky begins to warp. Not with the mutation and madness of chaos, but with the sheer electromagnetic output of his presence. Aurora-like curtains of light ripple outward. Radio transmissions within a 3-mile radius become nothing but static. Every camera pointed in his direction captures only brilliant, overexposed whiteness. SHIELD's orbital satellites swing toward the anomaly, their sensors straining to quantify what they're observing. They register gravitational distortions, exotic particle emissions, and psionic output that breaks their measurement scales. The Emperor surveys his new dominion with eyes that have watched worlds burn and civilizations fall. You sense his consciousness expanding outward, reading the psychic residue of this earth, like a scholar reads ancient texts. He perceives the shape of this universe in an instant, its heroes and villains, its cosmic hierarchies, its fundamental laws. He notes the absence of the warp as he knows it, the strange configuration of this reality's mystical dimensions. He catalogs threats and resources with the cold efficiency of a general planning an extended campaign. This is Earth, but not his Earth. This is humanity, but not his humanity. And in that moment of recognition, the Emperor of Mankind begins to smile an expression that would terrify those who remember what comes after his smiles. The crossover has begun. You watch as the Emperor's consciousness unfurls across the planet like a net of golden light, invisible to all but the most sensitive souls. This is not conquest, not yet. This is reconnaissance conducted by a being who spent millennia mastering the art of understanding civilizations before reshaping them. He does not simply observe. He comprehends with a depth that would take a mortal scholar 10 lifetimes to achieve. Every data transmission bouncing through satellites, every conversation happening in government chambers, every whispered prayer and desperate plea, all of it flows into his awareness and is cataloged, analyzed, assessed. The first thing he confirms is the technological profile of this Earth. Primitive, by the standards of the age of technology. Advanced, compared to the post-unification Terra he left behind when he began the Great Crusade in the year 798 M30. You perceive his evaluation as he examines the infrastructure below fusion reactors and arc technology. Repulsor field generators and PIM particles, unstable molecules, and vibranium alloys. Impressive applications of physical law, certainly. The work of minds unbroken by old night's darkness. But no standard template constructs. No planet-killing vortex weaponry. No reliable faster-than-light drives beyond experimental. Dimensional gates and alien technologies reverse-engineered by stolen genius. The Emperor notes the concentration of innovation in specific locations. Stark Tower in Manhattan, where a single human has achieved miniaturized fusion that would impress even the Mechanicum. The Baxter Building, where a man stretches the boundaries of dimensional science without the protection of Geller fields or the prayers that such work demands. Wakanda, hidden beneath holographic veils, hoarding a miracle metal that could armor 100 Space Marine legions if properly distributed. The Negative Zone Portal, the Savage Land's prehistoric anomaly. The inhuman city of Attilan hovering in Earth's orbit, each a puzzle piece in the larger picture of this world's strategic assets. But technology is merely the beginning of his assessment. The Emperor has never been one to judge a civilization by its tools alone. It is the wielders of those tools that matter, their psychology, their potential, their capacity to be forged into something greater. He turns his attention to the heroes. You feel his consciousness brush against them one by one, reading their surface thoughts, their moral frameworks, their deep-seated beliefs. Captain America, the super soldier serum running through his veins, a crude precursor to what the Emperor's own gene rights would later achieve with the Adeptus Astartes, but impressive nonetheless for a civilization that stumbled into such enhancement by accident rather than design. The Emperor recognizes the man's unshakable moral center, his belief in democracy and individual liberty. Admirable qualities in a bodyguard. Dangerous delusions in a leader of humanity. Iron Man, whose genius burns bright enough to be perceived from orbit. The Emperor has known countless such minds across the ages. Archmagos Moravec, who built the first Ordinatus, the fabricator general who would one day forge the first Baneblades. Technical brilliance wedded to ego, innovation born from trauma and narcissism. Useful, if properly directed. Problematic, if allowed to pursue individual vision over collective necessity. The Emperor notes the arc reactor in Stark's chest, a fusion device keeping shrapnel from piercing a mortal heart. Fragility and genius in equal measure. Thor, the Asgardian, presents a different category of assessment entirely. Here is not a human to be catalogued, but an alien species masquerading as gods. Drawing power from dimensional sources the Emperor finds curiously familiar. Imperial records are fragmented on whether the Emperor ever encountered similar beings. During the Age of Strife entities, of vast power claiming divine mandate, but his response to such claims has always been consistent. Gods are either lies to be exposed, aliens to be categorized, or warp entities to be destroyed. The Asgardians seem to fall into the first two categories simultaneously. Bruce Banner and the Hulk provide perhaps the most intriguing data point. The Emperor examines the gamma radiation signature woven through Banner's cellular structure. The way it has created a secondary consciousness that operates on pure rage and operates outside conventional physics. Mutation on a scale that rivals the worst horrors that will one day plague the 41st millennium, yet contained within a single being who struggles to maintain control. The Emperor understands control. He has built empires on it. Then there are the psychics, the mutants, as this world calls them. You sense the Emperor's particular attention sharpening as he identifies thousands of them scattered across the globe. Here is something familiar, something that resonates with his own long understanding of human evolution and psychic potential. But the pattern is wrong. These mutations are too random, too varied, too uncontrolled. No Scholastica Sicana exists to train them. No black ships collect them. No golden throne binds them into useful service. They simply exist, some lauded as heroes, most hunted as monsters. All of them walking security risks in a civilization that has no infrastructure to manage psychic emergence. He perceives the conflict this creates, the hatred, the fear, the political movements dedicated to mutant registration or eradication. The Emperor has seen this pattern before. He knows how it ends. Left unmanaged, psychic mutation either destroys a civilization or forces it to adapt in ways that often prove worse than extinction. Most significantly, the Emperor examines the metaphysical architecture of this universe. He extends his senses beyond the material, probing the boundaries between dimensions. And here he discovers the greatest deviation from his own reality. The warp, the immaterium, the sea of souls, does not exist here, not as he knows it. Oh, there are other dimensions, certainly. The dark dimension where Dormammu rules. The hell dimensions where Mephisto and his ill-cold court. The astral plane where consciousness travels disembodied. The quantum realm existing beneath Planck length. Reality, but none of them are the warp. None of them are that roiling ocean of psychic energy where emotion becomes power and thought becomes form. The entities that inhabit these adjacent dimensions are powerful, certainly, but they are contained, bound by rules and limitations that the chaos gods long ago transcended. It is a quieter cosmos, metaphysically speaking, more structured. Less alive with the screaming madness of souls, the Emperor considers what this means. A humanity that will never birth Slaanesh through its excesses. A species that need not fear demonic incursion every time a psyker loses control. But also a humanity that cannot access the full potential of psychic evolution. Cannot take the step that leads to either damnation or apotheosis. In the span of 3 heartbeats. The Emperor of Mankind completes his initial assessment. He understands this earth. He knows its strengths and its fatal weaknesses. Now he must decide what to do with that knowledge. The Avengers respond within 7 minutes of the initial breach, a commendable reaction time for a civilization still coordinating its defenders through radio frequencies and encrypted cellular networks. You watch as they converge on the Emperor's position from multiple vectors, each traveling by their preferred method. Iron Man arrives first, naturally. Repulsor flight carrying him through the sky at Mach 3 while Jarvis feeds him telemetry that makes progressively less sense the closer he gets to the golden figure hovering over Midtown Manhattan. Thor descends from Asgard via Bifrost, rainbow light scarring the sky. Captain America comes by Quinjet, shield mag locked to his arm. Jaw set in that expression that has steadied soldiers since 1943. The Hulk is already on site. Having emerged when Banner felt the psychic pressure and lost the emotional equilibrium he worked so desperately to maintain. The Green Giant stands atop the Chrysler Building, beating his chest and roaring challenge at the sky primal territoriality. Meeting godlike intrusion, you perceive the moment when they form their perimeter, establishing a loose tactical formation around the Emperor's position. It is textbook superhero response protocol. Flyers maintain aerial superiority, strong melee combatant holds ground position, baseline human provides strategic coordination. Against any conventional threat, it would be overwhelming force. Against the Emperor of Mankind, it is theater, a performance of defiance before an Anathema audience of one who has broken greater powers than these. The Emperor regards them with the patient attention of an adult watching children play at war. Unidentified entity. Iron Man's voice crackles across all frequencies, amplified to reach the floating figure. You are in violation of approximately 37 international laws, not to mention basic physics. I'm going to need you to land, identify yourself, and explain what you are before things get unpleasant. The Emperor speaks for the first time, and his voice is not amplified by technology, but by will itself. Every person within 5 miles hears it as clearly as if you were standing beside them, speaking in whatever language their mind finds most authoritative. I am the Emperor of Mankind. I have conquered galaxies and burned Xeno civilizations to ash. I have walked Terra, your Earth, when your oldest cities were mud and dreams. And I am here to determine whether this iteration of humanity deserves to survive what is coming. You watch Tony Stark's faceplate sensors flicker, trying to analyze the acoustic impossibility of that statement, reaching him through vacuum and armor plating alike. Some tech priests of Mars theorize that the Emperor's voice operates partially in the psychic spectrum, bypassing material sound entirely to imprint meaning directly onto the listener's consciousness, a technique that requires manipulation of the human brain's language centers at the molecular level. Thor steps forward, Mjolnir crackling with lightning. Bold words, stranger. But I have known gods and monsters across 9 realms, and none have made such claims without backing them with steel. The Asgardian's confidence is magnificent, the certainty of a being who has fought frost giants and dark elves, who considers himself prince of a realm eternal. The Emperor's eyes shift to Thor, and you sense the Asgardian's confidence waver. You call yourself a god, the Emperor says, and there's no question in his tone. You are not. You are merely long-lived, drawing power from a dimensional rift your ancestors learned to exploit. I have met gods, Asgardian. I have killed gods. And I have become what gods fear. Enough. Captain America's voice cuts through the tension, not loud, but carrying the authority of a man who once held the line against Thanos himself. I don't care if you're a god, an alien, or a time traveler. You don't come to our world and threaten it. Stand down, or we will make you stand down. You see the Emperor's expression shift, not to anger, but to something approaching curiosity. Here is defiance from the weakest physical specimen among them, the one whose enhancements are the most primitive. Yet he speaks with the certainty of command, expecting obedience from a being who radiates power like a sun radiates heat. The Emperor recognizes the type, the unbreakable soldier, the man who would hold the line at Thermopylae or Stalingrad or the Eternity Gate. Valuable genetics, uncompromising loyalty, tragically limited vision. Demonstrate, the Emperor says simply. The Hulk leaps first, propelling himself from the Chrysler Building with enough force to shatter the decorative eagles atop it. 700 feet of empty air disappear in a heartbeat, as 250 tons of gamma-irradiated muscle and rage closes the distance to the floating Emperor. The Hulk's fist, each knuckle the size of a human head, swings in an arc that has previously demolished. Vibranium-reinforced bunkers, the Emperor catches. The blow in his open palm, you witness the shockwave ripple outward from the point of impact, windows shattering in a 3-block radius. Car alarms screaming, pigeons exploding upward in panicked clouds. The Hulk's momentum arrests completely, as if he had punched a mountain rather than a man. The Emperor's arm does not move backward even an inch. His armor doesn't dent. His expression doesn't change. Impressive physical output, the Emperor observes, holding the Hulk's fist as one might hold a child's. Gamma radiation integrated at the cellular level, creating a secondary consciousness powered by pure rage. Crude, but effective. Your creators stumbled onto principles they did not understand, weaponizing emotion itself. In another reality, Korn would have claimed you within a month. The Hulk roars and swings with his other fist. The Emperor's hand moves not fast but with perfect economy and catches that blow as well. Now he holds both of the Hulk's fists suspended in midair, while the green giant thrashes and bellows like a beast in a trap. Your turn, the Emperor says. Glancing at the others, Iron Man's repulsor arrays light up, drawing power from the arc reactor in his chest until they shine like miniature suns. Thor channels lightning through Mjolnir, the hammer crackling with enough voltage to power New York City for a week. Captain America's shield comes up, ready to throw, its vibranium surface capable of absorbing and reflecting kinetic energy beyond anything conventional metallurgy should allow. They attack and concert repulsor beams that can pierce tank armor, lightning that can shatter mountains, a shield thrown with super soldier precision. The Emperor releases the Hulk and extends one hand, palm outward. A golden barrier materializes, a wall of pure psychic force made visible. The attacks strike it and simply stop energy dissipating, lightning grounding harmlessly, the shield bouncing back toward its thrower. Imperial records conflict on the exact nature of the Emperor's psychic shields, some claiming they operate by manipulating probability itself, making it impossible for attacks to connect rather than merely blocking them. Is this your best? The Emperor asks, and there is genuine disappointment in his voice. This is what defends humanity in this reality. Rage without discipline, technology without vision, nobility without understanding. He lowers his hand, and the shield vanishes. We will speak now. You will listen. And perhaps I will explain why your world stands at the edge of a precipice you cannot even see. The Avengers, Earth's mightiest heroes, find themselves without a response. You watch as the Emperor's gaze shifts upward, beyond the cloud layer, beyond the atmosphere, beyond even the orbital plane where satellites tumble in their endless circuits. His eyes focus on something the Avengers cannot perceive, a presence watching from light years away, observing this confrontation with interest that predates human civilization by epochs. The Celestials have noticed the Emperor's arrival, and in their own timeless fashion, they have decided to investigate. "We are not alone in this conversation," the Emperor says quietly. "Those who shaped your species are observing. I believe it is time to meet them directly." Before anyone can respond, the Emperor simply ceases to be present on Earth. No teleportation flash, no dimensional gateway, no residual energy signature. He is gone, and you follow his consciousness as it rises through layers of reality, leaving the Avengers standing in confused tactical formation. The Hulk still roaring at empty sky, the Emperor ascends. You perceive his journey through the solar system at speeds that make light seem pedestrian. Mars, passed in a moment. Jupiter's great red eye barely registered. The asteroid belt nothing but a blur of potential resources. He travels not through conventional propulsion, but through an application of will upon reality itself, folding space around his presence the way a man might brush aside a curtain. The technical principles involved would require a fabricator general's lifetime to fully comprehend. Combining psychic manipulation of gravitational fields with quantum-level control of his own atomic structure. And there, waiting at the edge of the solar system, they stand. The CELEST, ILS.4 of them have gathered for this audience. Arishem the Judge, 2,000 feet of crimson-armored cosmic power, his face an ever-shifting pattern of light behind his helmet. Essen the Searcher, whose purple form contains enough destructive potential to sterilize continents. Exitar the Executioner, largest of them all, a walking extinction event. And Hargan the Measurer, who observes and catalogs with detached scientific precision. The Emperor regards them as they regard him, entities of vast power measuring each other across the void. You sense the psychic dialogue that begins. Communication happening in layers of meaning compressed into microseconds. Concepts flowing between minds that operate on scales mortals cannot comprehend. You are not of this continuum. Arishem's voice resonates across every dimension simultaneously. You are a contamination, a variable unaccounted for in the cycle. "I am the Emperor of mankind," comes the response, projected with equal cosmic weight. "And you are the Celestials, the first host, the second, the third and fourth, who came to judge and reshape primitive humanity for purposes they could not understand. I know what you are. I have encountered your like before, in my own reality. Different faces perhaps, different names, but the same fundamental arrogance." The Emperor moves closer to Arishem, approaching the 2,000-foot giant without hesitation or deference. At his full height, he is an insect before their immensity. But presence is not measured in physical scale, and the Emperor's psychic signature burns within a intensity that gives even these cosmic judges pause. "You have been conducting eugenic experiments on humanity for millions of years," the Emperor continues, his tone that of a scholar discussing another's research, critical, analytical, unimpressed. "Introducing the deviant and eternal genomes into baseline Homo sapiens, creating variants and monitoring their development, seeding the X gene that even now produces your mutants. All of this to generate diversity, to stress test humanity's adaptability, to determine if this species is worthy of surviving the emergence." You perceive Hargan the Measurer tilting his vast head, intrigued by the depth of the Emperor's knowledge. "You comprehend our purpose. Few beings achieve such understanding. And yet you judge us, curious." "I judge you because I have done what you merely observe," the Emperor replies. "I have taken humanity's genetic potential and forged it into weapons of unimaginable power. My Thunder Warriors conquered Terra while your kind merely watched from the stars." The Emperor's mind opens, allowing the Celestials to glimpse memories from his own timeline. You see them, the Thunder Warriors, the Proto-Astartes created in the gene labs beneath the Himalayan mountains during the Unification Wars. Each one stood 8 feet tall, their bodies swollen with muscle and enhanced organs, their bones reinforced with ceramic lattice, their blood replaced with synthetic oxygen carriers that allowed them to fight for days without rest. They were unstable, their genetic modifications degrading over time, their minds prone to psychotic breaks as the enhancements literally tore their brains apart. But they were effective. By the time the Emperor led them from Mount Ararat in 798 M30, they had broken every warlord, every techno-barbarian kingdom, every gene cult that claimed dominion over Terra's irradiated wastes. The Thunder Warriors won the Unification Wars in less than a century of concentrated warfare, establishing the planetary government necessary for humanity to reach for the stars once more. And then the Emperor had them purged at Mount Ararat. Their usefulness concluded, their instabilities too dangerous to preserve. Some inquisitorial texts claim a few survived, hiding in the ruins of Terra, living on as legends and nightmares. The records are fragmented on this point, deliberately obscured by the Emperor himself. You created super soldiers and discarded them when convenient, Exitar observes, his tone carrying neither approval nor condemnation. Pragmatic, efficient, monstrous. I created necessity, the Emperor corrects. Humanity was dying. The age of strife had reduced Earth to feuding tribes fighting over the ruins of technologies they no longer understood. I gave them unity through strength. I gave them the tools to survive. That those tools were men, that they suffered and died and were ultimately betrayed, is unfortunate. But it was required. He pauses, and his next words carry the weight of eons. You, however, have no such excuse. You experiment on humanity not to save it, but to satisfy your own cosmic curiosity. You seed mutations and enhancements not to help the species thrive, but to determine if it deserves to exist at all. You are gods playing at gardening, pulling up plants to examine their roots, then expressing surprise when your garden dies. Arisham's form seems to grow larger, his presence pressing against the fabric of reality. We have nurtured 1,000 civilizations. We have judged 10,000 species. We have existed since before your universe's stars first ignited. You dare lecture us on purpose? I dare, the Emperor says simply, because I have succeeded where you merely continue. My Imperium, in my reality, spans 1,000,000 worlds. My Space Marines, perfected warriors far beyond the crude Thunder Warriors, number in the millions. I have built what you can only measure. The Emperor extends his hand, and golden light flows from it. Not an attack, but a demonstration. Psychic energy shapes itself into a double helix, spinning slowly in the void between him and the Celestials. This is the genetic code I used to create my Primarchs, 20 suns scattered across the galaxy by powers that feared what they would become. Each one a masterwork of genetic engineering, incorporating techniques that your Eternals and Deviants stumble toward blindly. Each one unique, designed for specific strategic purposes, combining superhuman physiology with psychic potential and Gestalt consciousness. The DNA strand rotates, and you see the complexity of the genes that should not function together woven into harmonious purpose. Junk DNA reprogrammed into activation sequences. Every nucleotide serving multiple overlapping functions. Hargan moves closer, examining the construct with instruments built into his cosmic armor. Sophisticated, he admits. Perhaps more refined than our own eternal templates. And yet I detect instability. Flaws deliberately introduced. Why? The Emperor's smile is cold. Because perfection is stagnation. My Primarchs were designed to be imperfect, to contain the seeds of their own destruction. Failsafe should they ever turn against their creator. The irony of those words hangs in the void. Heavy with knowledge of what actually occurred, the Horus Heresy, the betrayal. The Emperor's 10,000-year imprisonment on the Golden Throne. But here, now speaking to the Celestials, the Emperor of mankind stands as he once was, unbroken, unbound and absolutely certain of his own supremacy. You follow the Emperor as he returns to Earth, descending through the atmosphere like a golden meteor. The Celestials remain behind, still processing the encounter with this anomalous being who spoke to them as an equal rather than a supplicant. Whether they consider him threat, curiosity, or potential ally remains unclear. Their minds operate on timescales that make human lifetimes seem like heartbeats, and their deliberations could take centuries to resolve. The Emperor does not wait for their judgment. He has never waited for the approval of beings he considers his inferiors. Regardless of their power, the Avengers have regrouped in his absence. Establishing a command post on the roof of Stark Tower, you perceive them as the Emperor approaches Captain America pacing with controlled tension. Iron Man interfacing with 17 different monitoring systems simultaneously. Thor standing like a statue with Mjolnir gripped too tightly. Black Widow observing from the shadows with the practiced stillness of an assassin cataloging threats. They have called in reinforcements. Hawkeye on an adjacent rooftop with a quiver of specialty arrows. War Machine circling overhead in a holding pattern. Even the reluctant return of Bruce Banner, who has suppressed the Hulk through meditation techniques borrowed from Tibetan monasteries. The Emperor lands among them without announcement or ceremony. "You left," Captain America says, his voice tight with barely restrained frustration. "You showed up, threatened our world, demonstrated that you could defeat all of us simultaneously, and then you just left. Where did you go?" "To speak with the beings you call Celestials," the Emperor replies, his tone carrying neither apology nor defensiveness. "They have been manipulating human evolution on this world for 4 million years. I wish to understand their methodology before proceeding." Tony Stark's faceplate retracts, revealing the face beneath exhaustion, fighting against obsessive curiosity. "You talked to the Celestials, the cosmic space giants who we've barely seen once or twice in recorded human history. You just popped up there for a chat. They are not gods, Stark. They are simply very old and very powerful. Like myself." The Emperor moves to the edge of the rooftop, gazing out over the Manhattan skyline. The city has not recovered from his initial arrival. Power outages still flicker across the grid. Emergency vehicles stream toward Midtown, and the distant sound of sirens provides a constant background melody. Your civilization is fragile. A single being of sufficient power could end it in days. This troubles you. "What troubles me?" Captain America says, stepping forward until he stands directly behind the Emperor, "is that you seem to think that's a valid way to govern. Breaking things until people submit." The Emperor turns, and you sense his attention focusing on the super soldier with renewed interest. "You have strong opinions about governance. Speak them. I've seen your type before." Steve Rogers' voice carries the weight of a man who fought Nazis, who watched his best friend fall from a train, who woke up in a world that had moved on without him. Dictators who think their vision justifies any means. Men who talk about the greater good while building concentration camps. I've spent my life fighting against exactly what you represent. And what do I represent, Captain? Tyranny. The idea that humanity needs to be controlled for its own good. That one man or one being can decide what's best for everyone else. Roger's shield gleams in the afternoon light, its vibranium surface having absorbed countless blows and delivered them back with equal force. "I believe in freedom, in people's right to choose their own destiny, even if those choices lead to mistakes." The Emperor is silent for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice has shifted softer, almost nostalgic. "In the year 14, M31, I stood on a world called Monarchia. The city was beautiful cathedrals rising into a purple sky, monuments to faith and devotion crafted by billions of human hands. My son Lorgar had built it as a tribute to me, declaring that I was a god worthy of worship." You watch the Avengers exchange glances, uncertain where this story is leading. I burned Monarchia to the ground, the Emperor continues. I forced Lorgar and his entire Legion 100,000 Space Marines of the Word Bearers to kneel in the ashes while I explained that I was not a god, would never accept worship, and that their faith was a sickness that threatened everything I had built. Some scholars claim this humiliation planted the seeds of Lorgar's eventual betrayal. His turn to the ruinous powers of chaos. The records are fragmented on this point, but the possibility haunts the historical analysis. He turns back to Captain America, and his eyes contain millennia of regret buried beneath absolute certainty. I was right to destroy Monarchia. Religious fervor would have consumed the Imperium from within, making it vulnerable to the very forces I sought to protect humanity from. But I was also wrong in how I delivered that lesson, in the cruelty of the humiliation, in the failure to provide Lorgar an alternative purpose for his devotion. I broke my son rather than correcting him, and the consequences of that failure would nearly destroy everything I built. So you admit you make mistakes, Tony Stark interjects, his mind clearly racing through the implications. The all-powerful God Emperor gets things wrong sometimes. That's not exactly reassuring. I am not a god. I have never claimed to be a god. I am a human being, the most powerful human being to ever exist, but human nonetheless. The Emperor's form seems to dim slightly, the golden aura flickering. I have lived for over 40,000 years, Stark. I have made countless mistakes. I have destroyed civilizations that perhaps deserved saving. I have preserved cultures that perhaps deserved to die. I have been cruel when kindness might have served better, and merciful when cruelty was required. He spreads his hands, a gesture encompassing the city around them. But I have also kept humanity alive. Through the age of strife, when warp storms isolated every human world and demons walked freely among populations that had forgotten how to fight them. Through the long night, when alien species systematically exterminated human colonies across the galaxy. Through the Great Crusade, when we reclaimed 200,000 worlds from Xenos oppression and technological barbarism. At what cost? Captain America asks quietly, every cost. The Emperor's voice hardens. Every atrocity you can imagine and many you cannot. Worlds burned, populations enslaved, cultures erased. I built an empire on genocide and called it salvation. And I would do it all again, because the alternative was extinction. Not just death, Captain Extinction. The permanent erasure of the human species from a hostile universe that does not care whether we survive. Tony Stark moves closer, his analytical mind seizing on the core philosophical divide. That's where we disagree fundamentally. You believe the ends justify the means, that human survival is worth any price. But if you have to become a monster to save humanity, have you really saved anything worth preserving? The Emperor looks at him with something approaching respect. You ask the right question, Stark. The question I have asked myself across millennia. The question I have never been able to answer satisfactorily. He pauses, and when he speaks again, there is an ancient weariness in his voice. Perhaps that is why I am here, in this universe where heroes believe in justice and villains are eventually defeated. Perhaps I came seeking an answer I could not find in my own reality, where the choice is always between bad and worse, where hope is a luxury the species cannot afford. The sunset paints the sky in shades of blood and gold, and the Emperor of Mankind stands among Earth's defenders, momentarily uncertain for the first time in 10,000 years. You sense the shift in the Emperor's attention before the Avengers, due a subtle turning of his vast consciousness toward something that has been calling to him since his arrival. The mutants. They pulse across his awareness like candles in darkness, scattered concentrations of psychic potential flickering throughout the planet. Some burn brighter than others. A woman who commands weather with a thought. A man whose eyes project concussive force he cannot control. A child somewhere in Nebraska whose power to manipulate probability has not yet fully manifested. Each one represents a step along humanity's evolutionary path. Each one a glimpse of what the species could become, or what could destroy it. "I must address your mutant population," the Emperor announces, his tone shifting from philosophical reflection to strategic assessment. "They represent the most significant variable in this Earth's future. Take me to Xavier." Captain America stiffens. Charles Xavier is a friend and an ally. He's dedicated his life to protecting mutants and promoting peaceful coexistence between. "I know what he is." The Emperor's interruption is not unkind, merely impatient. "I have read his surface thoughts from orbit. A telepath of considerable power who believes education and diplomacy can bridge the gap between baseline humanity and its psychic successors. An idealist. Take me to him, or I will go alone." The journey to Westchester County takes 17 minutes by Quinjet, a vessel the Emperor observes with polite disinterest, noting its reliance on conventional aerodynamics augmented by repulsor technology. Stark flies escort in his armor, while Captain America pilots with the grim focus of a man transporting a nuclear weapon to a children's hospital. The Emperor sits in the cargo hold, his golden form too large for the standard seating, his presence making the aircraft's instruments flicker with interference. "You perceive," Charles Xavier before the Quinjet lands, his consciousness reaching out to touch the approaching mines. He recoils when he brushes against the Emperor's psyche, not from hostility, but from sheer overwhelming scale. It is like a man accustomed to examining pebbles suddenly confronted with a mountain. Xavier's telepathy, powerful enough to freeze entire armies, finds itself unable to penetrate even the outermost defenses of the Emperor's mind. When they land on the mansion's lawn, Xavier is waiting at the front entrance, his wheelchair positioned at the top of the accessibility ramp. Behind him stand several X-Men Cyclops with his hand on his visor, Jean Grey radiating controlled concern, Storm with clouds already gathering overhead in unconscious response to tension. The students have been evacuated to the lower levels, but you sense them there. Young minds filled with fear and curiosity in equal measure. The Emperor approaches Xavier slowly, deliberately, allowing the gathered mutants to observe him without the shock of sudden movement. He stops 10 feet from the wheelchair and inclines his head, the barest acknowledgement of respect he has offered anyone on this world. "Charles Francis Xavier," the Emperor says, born with telepathic abilities that manifested in childhood, educated at Oxford and Columbia, founded this school in 1963 to train young mutants in the control of their powers while advocating for peaceful integration with baseline humanity. A pause. "Your dream is admirable. It is also doomed to failure." Xavier's expression remains calm, but you sense the effort that calm requires. You speak with certainty about matters you cannot fully understand. "You have been on this world for less than a day." "I speak with certainty because I have witnessed this pattern before." The Emperor's voice carries the weight of ages. In the year 216, M2, during humanity's first expansion into the solar system, a population of psychers emerged on the Martian colony of Olympus Mons. They called themselves the Evolved, and they believed as you believe that peaceful coexistence with their unaugmented brethren was possible. They established schools, created advocacy organizations, lobbied for legal protections. The Emperor's eyes grow distant, accessing memories older than most civilizations. Within 3 generations, fear had turned to legislation, legislation to persecution, persecution to pogrom. The Evolved were hunted to extinction by the very population they had tried to protect. Their schools were burned. Their children were sterilized. Their very existence was erased from historical records. Some Mechanicus archivists claim to have found fragmentary references, but the documentation remains contested. Jean Grey steps forward, her own psychic power brushing against the Emperor's shields like a moth against a window. "That was a different time, a different place. Humanity can evolve. We can learn to accept humanity does not evolve, child. Humanity adapts temporarily to whatever pressures threaten its survival. Remove those pressures, and it reverts to tribalism, fear, and violence. The Emperor's attention shifts to her, and you sense him reading the Phoenix Force potential coiled within her, DNA, cosmic power source that has destroyed worlds, that will one day claim Zhang Grey completely if left unchecked. You carry something inside you that you do not understand, a fire that burns between dimensions. Has Xavier told you what you truly are? Before Zhang can respond, a new presence makes itself known. Magnetic fields twist and scream as a figure descends from the sky, cape billowing, helmet gleaming. Magneto lands between the Emperor and Xavier, his hands raised, every piece of metal within 100 yards trembling in response to his will. "I know what you are," Magneto says, his voice carrying the cold fury of a man who survived Auschwitz and swore never to be helpless again. Another would-be conqueror come to solve the mutant problem. I have heard such rhetoric before, in German and Polish and Russian. I have seen where it leads. The Emperor regards Magneto with something approaching approval. Eric Magnus Lenscher. Control over electromagnetic fields at the quantum level, allowing manipulation of all ferrous materials and significant influence over electrical systems. You survived human brutality and emerged convinced that mutants must dominate or be destroyed. You are correct. The statement hangs in the air, shocking Xavier and his X-Men into silence. Even Magneto seems momentarily uncertain, having expected confrontation rather than agreement. The dream of coexistence fails because it ignores biology, the Emperor continues, addressing both leaders now. Baseline humanity will never accept a population that can read their thoughts, control their actions, reshape reality with a gesture. The fear is not irrational, it is survival instinct, the recognition that they are being replaced by something superior. They will fight that replacement with every weapon available, and eventually, they will develop weapons capable of mutant extinction. He pauses, allowing the weight of that prediction to settle. Xavier's path leads to slow genocide by 1,000 legislative cuts. Magneto's path leads to war. War mutants might win, but which would leave both populations decimated and vulnerable to external threats neither has properly prepared for. And what is your path? Xavier asks quietly. What solution does the Emperor of Mankind propose for his own species? The Emperor's answer is simple, terrible, and delivered without hesitation. Unification by transcendence. I would take every mutant on this planet and begin the process of controlled evolution, not random mutation, but directed genetic enhancement. I would do the same to baseline humanity, raising their potential until the distinction between mutant and human becomes meaningless. One species, engineered for survival, with psychic abilities managed through rigorous training and institutional control. You would remake us in your image, Magneto says, his voice flat. I would remake you into something capable of surviving the universe, the Emperor replies. The process would take generations. Many would resist. Many would die. But at the end, there would be no more mutants and no more baselines, only humanity, unified and perfected. The silence that follows is absolute, broken only by distant thunder as Storm's unconscious powers respond to her horror. You sense the Bifrost before it strikes a gathering of dimensional energies at the edge of perception, rainbow light coalescing into a bridge between realms. The beam descends upon the Xavier Mansion's lawn with enough force to scorch the grass in a perfect circle, and from that circle steps a figure whose presence shifts the balance of power entirely. Odin All-Father of Asgard, King of the Nine Realms, has come to Earth to confront the anomaly that has been disturbing the cosmic order since its arrival. The All-Father stands 7 feet tall in his golden armor, Gungnir gripped in his right hand, his single eye blazing with power accumulated across eons. Behind him, Thor takes position at his father's shoulder, Mjolnir crackling with eager lightning. The contrast between the two Asgardians is striking. Thor's youth and passion against Odin's ancient, calculating patience. They have faced cosmic threats before, have battled frost giants and dark elves and beings from beyond the known realms. But neither has encountered anything quite like the Emperor of Mankind. The mutants retreat instinctively, even Magneto taking several steps back. Xavier's wheelchair reverses slowly, putting distance between himself and the convergence of power about to occur. Only the Emperor remains unmoved, turning from his conversation about mutant genocide to face the Asgardian monarch with the same patient attention he has shown every being on this world. "Odin All-Father," the Emperor says, his voice carrying formal recognition without deference. "Your reputation precedes you across dimensional boundaries. King of a realm that exists partially outside conventional space-time. Wielder of the Odin Force, master of runic magic that predates this universe's current configuration. You have come to take my measure." Odin's single eye narrows. "I have come to understand what you are, stranger. My ravens have whispered of your arrival, and my seers have looked upon you with the sight. They report only confusion, a being who should not exist, whose presence violates the natural order of this cosmos. I am the Emperor of Mankind. I have explained this to everyone who has asked. You are more than that." Odin steps forward, Gungnir's point lowering slightly in what might be threat or might be examination. "I sense the power within you, old power, born of sacrifice and will and something else. Something that does not belong to any dimension I can perceive. You call yourself Emperor, but you radiate the presence of a god while denying godhood with every breath." The Emperor's expression shifts to something approaching amusement. "And you claim godhood while being merely an advanced alien species that has learned to exploit dimensional energies. We are both liars, Odin. The difference is that I am honest about my lies." Thor's grip tightens on Mjolnir, lightning arcing between his fingers and the hammer's Uru surface. "You will not speak to my father with such disrespect, mortal. I am not mortal, Asgardian. I have lived longer than your realm has existed in its current form. I walked the earth when your ancestors first discovered the dimensional rift that leads to what you call Yggdrasil. I remember the construction of the first Bifrost. Though imperial records are fragmented on whether the technology was developed independently or stolen from the builders who seeded this cosmos with life." Odin raises his hand, silencing Thor's response. "You speak of our origins with authority. Perhaps you know something of our history that we ourselves have forgotten. But knowledge alone does not establish the right to judge. I have protected the 9 realms for ages beyond counting. What have you protected?" The Emperor's aura flares, golden light pushing back against the rainbow luminescence of Odin's presence. "I have protected humanity. Across a galaxy of horrors you cannot imagine, against threats that would reduce your 9 realms to ash in moments. The chaos gods who hunger for mortal souls, not pale imitations like your Surtur or Hela, but fundamental forces of corruption born from the emotions of every sentient being in existence. The Tyranid hive fleets, biomechanical swarms that consume entire star systems and leave nothing but dead rock. The Necrons, ancient machines who ruled the galaxy 60 million years before humans first stood upright." He pauses, and when he continues, his voice carries the weight of endless war. "I have fought all of these and more. I have won victories that cost billions of lives and defeats that erased civilizations from existence. I have made choices that haunt me across millennia, and I would make them all again. Because the alternative was the extinction of my species." You perceive the technical reality of what the Emperor describes. The chaos gods of his reality corn, Tzeentch, Nurgle, Slanesh exist in a dimension called the Warp. A parallel universe where emotion and thought become tangible. Where demons are born from collective consciousness. where mortal souls are currency and playthings both. The Emperor's psychic might allows him to exist as their antithesis, a beacon of structured will against their churning madness. In his own universe, they call him the Anathema, the one thing they truly fear. Odin senses this, his magical perception brushing against the Emperor's memories. You carry scars from battles beyond this reality. Wounds that never heal because they were inflicted on the soul rather than the flesh. I recognize such marks, I bear them myself. From conflicts with forces that threatened existence at its foundation. Then you understand why I speak with authority about godhood and its pretensions. The Emperor's tone softens slightly. One ancient warrior acknowledging another. I do not deny your power, All-Father. I do not minimize your sacrifices or your victories. But I have seen what happens when beings of power allow themselves to be worshipped as gods. It weakens them, makes them dependent on faith rather than will. And it weakens those who worship, replacing self-reliance with supplication. Thor steps forward again, unable to contain himself. Asgard has protected Midgard Asgard has used Midgard as a staging ground for your own conflicts. The Emperor interrupts. You have drawn cosmic threats to this world, fought your battles on its soil, and departed when the fighting was done, leaving humans to rebuild from the wreckage. You are not protectors, you are landlords, maintaining a property for your own purposes while allowing the tenants to handle their own survival between your occasional visits. The accusation strikes deep, and you see Thor's expression flicker with doubt. He has wrestled with this very concern, has questioned whether Asgard's involvement with Earth truly serves humanity or merely serves Asgardian interests. But before he can respond, Odin speaks again. And what would you offer instead, Emperor? What alternative to our imperfect protection do you propose? Independence. The word carries absolute conviction. I would teach humanity to protect itself, not through faith in higher powers, but through technology, through discipline, through the systematic development of psychic potential properly trained and controlled. I would make them strong enough that they need no gods, Asgardian or otherwise. Odin considers this, his single eye meeting the Emperor's golden gaze. Two patriarchs of their respective peoples, both having sacrificed everything for their charges, both carrying burdens that would crush lesser beings. In another circumstance, they might have been allies, or at least, they might have understood each other. You believe the ends justify the means, Odin says finally. That any atrocity is acceptable if it serves humanity's survival. I have walked that path, Emperor. I have made terrible choices in the name of the 9 realms. And I have learned that some prices are too high, that there are lines which, once crossed, cannot be uncrossed. Then you are weak, the Emperor replies. And there's no malice in this statement, only cold assessment. And weakness, in the universe I come from, is fatal. Perhaps this cosmos is more forgiving. Perhaps your philosophy can survive here, where the darkness beyond is merely dark rather than actively hungry. But I would not wager humanity's existence on such hope. The two beings stand facing each other across the scorched lawn. Power crackling between them, neither willing to yield the philosophical ground they have staked out. Above them, storm clouds gather as Thor's emotions churn, and the very heavens wait to see what will happen next. You sense the arrival of a different kind of power, not the cosmic authority of Celestials or the dimensional might of Asgardians, but something subtler, more precise. A portal opens in the air beside the gathered beings, a perfect circle of golden light that rotates like a mandala, its edges traced with symbols that would take a mortal scholar decades to interpret. Through this gateway steps Dr. Stephen Strange, Sorcerer Supreme of Earth, Master of the Mystic Arts, and Guardian of Reality against supernatural incursion. His cloak of levitation billows despite the absence of wind, and the Eye of Agamotto hangs at his chest, pulsing with contained power. Strange approaches with the measured pace of a man who has walked through dimensions that would shatter ordinary minds, who has bargained with entities whose names cannot be spoken without consequence. Yet even he pauses when his gaze falls upon the Emperor, his third eye opening on the astral plane to perceive what material vision cannot reveal. What he sees makes him take an involuntary step backward. By the Vishanti, Strange breathes, his composure cracking for just a moment. What has been done to your soul? The Emperor turns from his confrontation with Odin, regarding the Sorcerer Supreme with patient interest. You see more clearly than most. Explain what you perceive. Strange's hands move in subtle gestures, protective wards manifesting around him without conscious thought. Your soul is fragmented, scattered across dimensional boundaries I cannot fully map. Part of you exists here, in the material plane, but other portions are anchored elsewhere, in something vast and golden and wounded. A throne of some kind, built from screaming psychic energy. And there are scars tears in your essence where something tried to enter, or perhaps where something tried to escape. The Emperor nods slowly, acknowledging the accuracy of Strange's perception. You speak of the Golden Throne. In my reality, I have sat upon it for over 10,000 years. My body broken, my soul stretched between, maintaining the Astronomicon a psychic beacon that allows faster than light navigation across the galaxy and holding closed a sea. Wound in reality that would otherwise allow demons to pour into the heart of Terra itself. You perceive the weight of that confession, the horror of what it describes. The Emperor of Mankind, in his original timeline, is not truly alive in any conventional sense. He exists in a state between life and death, sustained by the sacrifice of 10,000 psychers who burn out their souls daily to fuel his continued existence. Each day, 1,000 souls are fed to the Golden Throne. Each day, the Emperor endures agony beyond mortal comprehension. Each day, humanity survives because its God refuses to die completely. The Webway Project, Strange says, his analytical mind piecing together fragments of psychic residue. I can see the echoes of it in your essence. You were building something, a network of tunnels through another dimension, protected from the entities that dwell there. But it was breached, corrupted, and you have been holding the door closed ever since. The Webway was to be humanity's salvation, the Emperor confirms. A method of faster-than-light travel that did not require passage through the warp, that protected travelers from demonic predation. I had nearly completed the project when one of my sons, corrupted by the very powers I sought to protect humanity from, used sorcery to breach the Webway's defenses beneath the Imperial Palace. Demons poured through by the millions. I was forced to abandon the crusade, return to Terra, and spend the next 10 millennia holding the breach closed with my will alone. Strange's third eye flickers, processing implications. And now you are here, in a reality where that breach does not exist, where that throne does not hold you prisoner. You are free, but you are also diminished. Part of your power remains anchored there, in your original timeline, maintaining the seal. Your perception is remarkable, Sorcerer. The Emperor's voice carries genuine respect. Yes, I am not complete. A fragment of my consciousness remains on the Golden Throne, suffering endlessly so that my species might survive another day. What stands before you is perhaps 1/3 of my total being, enough to reshape worlds, but not enough to achieve what I once could at the height of my power. Odin and Thor exchange glances, this revelation changing their assessment of the being before them. Even diminished, the Emperor has demonstrated power sufficient to humble their combined might. What would he be capable of at full strength? Strange circles the Emperor slowly, examining him from multiple angles across multiple dimensions simultaneously. There is something else, deeper, older. His voice drops to barely above a whisper. I see a ritual. Shamans gathered on a prehistoric plane, their souls burning with combined purpose. They are dying, willing themselves to die, and their power is flowing into a single vessel. A child who should not exist, born to contain the psychic might of an entire generation of humanity's spiritual leaders. The Emperor's expression flickers surprise, perhaps at the depth of Strange's perception. Some imperial scholars theorize that the Emperor was created in the year 8000 BCE, when the shamans and mystics of humanity's scattered tribes sensed the coming darkness and chose to pool their power into a single immortal vessel. The records are fragmented on this point, with some sources suggesting alternate origins, a survivor of the dark age of technology's genetic experimentation, or an aspect of the warp itself given human form to stand against chaos. The truth, as with all things concerning the Emperor, remains deliberately obscured. "You have looked deeper into my essence than anyone has in millennia," the Emperor says quietly. "And what you see should tell you why I am what I am. I was created to protect humanity, not to be loved, not to be worshipped, not even to be understood. I exist to ensure our species survives the horrors that await it in the darkness between stars." Strange's hands lower, the protective wards fading as he makes a decision. "I believe you. I believe your intentions, at least if not your methods. But I must warn you, this reality operates differently than yours. The protections are different. The threats are different. What works in your cosmos may catastrophically fail here. Explain." "The dimensional boundaries here are more stable, but also more interconnected. Push too hard in one direction, and you create cascading effects across multiple realities. The entities that dwell beyond your chaos god's equivalents in this cosmos are bound by different rules. They can be bargained with, reasoned with, even occasionally trusted to keep their word. But they are also more patient, more subtle. They will not assault you directly as your demons might. They will wait and watch and find the precise moment when a surgical strike will accomplish what brute force cannot." The Emperor considers this, his vast intellect processing the implications. "You suggest I cannot simply apply the strategies that worked in my reality. I suggest that you will need to learn this cosmos before you attempt to reshape it." Strange meets the Emperor's gaze without flinching, one master of reality acknowledging another. "I have defended this world against threats you have not yet encountered. I have walked the dark dimension, bargained with Dormammu, and emerged with my soul intact. I can help you understand what you face here, if you are willing to listen rather than simply dictate." The offer hangs in the air, unprecedented in the Emperor's long experience. In his own reality, he has never accepted counsel from equals because he has never acknowledged equals. Every decision, every strategy, every terrible choice has been his alone, but this is not his reality. And even the Emperor of mankind, it seems, must sometimes adapt. "Speak then, Sorcerer Supreme. I will listen." Strange nods and begins to explain the architecture of a cosmos the Emperor has only begun to comprehend. You sense the approach before Strange finishes his explanation, a presence at the edge of the solar system, ancient and vast and impossibly hungry. It moves through the void with the inevitability of continental drift, ignoring the laws of physics that govern lesser beings. Strange falls silent mid-sentence, his mystic senses alerting him to what draws near. Odin's single eye widens, recognizing the signature of a being even the All-Father approaches with caution. And the Emperor of mankind turns his gaze skyward, perceiving through layers of reality the outline of something that defies easy categorization. Galactus has come. The devourer of worlds does not descend to Earth. To do so would be to begin the feeding process. And he has not yet determined whether this planet merits consumption. Instead, he manifests at the edge of the atmosphere, his form shifting to accommodate human perception. What you perceive is a figure armored in purple and blue, helmet crusted with impossible geometries, standing in the void as comfortably as a man might stand in his own garden. He is over 2,000 feet tall in this manifestation, his shadow falling across the daylight side of Earth. Like a premature eclipse, the Emperor rises to meet him. You watch as the master of mankind ascends through the atmosphere, golden light trailing behind him like the tail of a comet. The gathered heroes and gods on the Xavier Mansion lawn look up, their conflicts momentarily forgotten as two beings of cosmic significance prepare to take each other's measure. Strange opens a scrying portal, allowing those on the ground to witness what transpires in orbit. The image shows two figures facing each other against the backdrop of stars, one golden and human-shaped, one towering and alien, both radiating power that makes the space between them ripple with distortion. "You are not of this universe," Galactus speaks, and his voice resonates across every frequency simultaneously. Radio waves, psychic emanations, gravitational fluctuations. "I have consumed 10,000 worlds across billions of years, and I have never tasted essence such as yours. You are an anomaly, a contamination in the cosmic order." "I am the Emperor of mankind," comes the reply, projected with equal universal reach. "And you are Galactus, survivor of the universe that preceded this one, transformed into a force of cosmic balance that consumes worlds to maintain the fundamental structure of reality. You call yourself inevitable. You believe yourself necessary." Galactus inclines his massive head, something like curiosity flickering across features too vast to read easily. "You know what I am." Few beings achieve such understanding without first being consumed by it. "How did you acquire this knowledge?" Your Sorcerer Supreme is remarkably forthcoming when he believes cooperation serves mutual interest. The Emperor gestures toward the planet below. "He has explained your function in this cosmos, the role you play in preventing the entropic decay that would otherwise unmake reality itself. You consume worlds, and in doing so, you release the cosmic energy bound within them, recycling it back into the universe's fundamental processes." A crude summary, but accurate in its essentials. Galactus regards the Emperor with something approaching respect. "And what are you, anomaly? What function do you serve in your native reality?" The Emperor is silent for a moment, considering the question with genuine reflection. "In my universe, I am humanity's guardian against the warp, a parallel dimension of pure psychic energy where emotion becomes reality and thought gives birth to gods of madness and corruption. I am the Anathema, the one being the chaos gods truly fear, because my will is strong enough to impose order on their chaos." You perceive the technical reality of what the Emperor describes, the way his psychic presence operates as a beacon of structured consciousness in a universe where such structure is under constant assault. The Astronomicon, which he maintains even now across dimensional boundaries, is not merely a navigational tool. It is a statement of existence, a declaration that order can persist against entropy, that humanity's collective will can shine bright enough to push back the darkness. The light it generates burns across 50,000 light years, requiring the daily sacrifice of 1,000 psychers whose souls are consumed as fuel. Galactus processes this information with the analytical capacity of a being who has witnessed the birth and death of countless civilizations. You are a bulwark, a living wall against forces that would otherwise consume your species. We are not so different, Emperor. We both serve functions that transcend individual morality purposes that require sacrifice on scales that lesser beings cannot comprehend. The comparison is apt, the Emperor acknowledges. Though our methods differ, you consume to preserve cosmic balance. I preserve through unity, through control, through the systematic elevation of human potential until my species no longer requires external protection. A goal you have not yet achieved, despite millennia of effort. There is no mockery in Galactus's observation, merely statement of fact. Your reality still requires you. Your species has not transcended its dependency on your guidance. Perhaps it never will. The Emperor's golden aura flickers, the words striking closer to truth than he would prefer to admit. In the year 14M31, the same year he burned Monarchia and humiliated Lorgar, the Emperor had believed humanity was perhaps 2 centuries away from achieving the psychic maturity necessary for species-wide transcendence. The Webway project would have provided safe passage through the galaxy. The systematic training of psychers would have created a population capable of wielding warp energy without succumbing to demonic corruption. The Primarchs would have guided their legions to victory after victory until every human world was united under the Imperium's protection. And then Horus fell. And everything burned. You carry great regret, Galactus observes, reading the Emperor's psychic emanations with senses attuned to cosmic truths. Something went wrong. Your plan failed, and you have spent ages beyond counting dealing with the consequences of that failure. I understand such burden. I too have made choices that echo across eternity. What choices burden the devourer of worlds? Galactus turns his gaze toward distant stars, seeing something beyond the Emperor's perception. There was a world once, early in my existence, when I still struggled against my nature rather than accepting it. A world of beings who had achieved what you seek for humanity: true psychic transcendence, collective consciousness operating in harmony with cosmic forces. They posed no threat to universal balance. They could have been spared. He pauses, and when he continues, his voice carries weight that makes nearby asteroids tremble. I consumed them anyway, because my hunger demanded it, and I was not yet strong enough to resist. Their screams echo in my memory, still not of individuals dying, but of an entire species' potential extinguished. Some records suggest they were the last of their kind, that their unique evolutionary path will never be replicated. The scholarly archives of Xandar hold fragmentary references, but the full truth has been lost to cosmic entropy. The Emperor absorbs this confession, recognizing a kindred spirit in suffering. We are both monsters, Galactus. We have both done terrible things in service to purposes larger than ourselves. The difference is that you have accepted your nature, while I continue to believe that mine can be transcended. Perhaps that is why you intrigue me. Anomaly. Galactus focuses his full attention on the Emperor once more. You still hope. After millennia of failure, after watching your plans crumble and your sons betray you, you still believe that humanity can become something greater than what it is. I find such persistence either admirable or pathetic. I have not yet determined which. When you decide, the Emperor replies, inform me. I find your perspective valuable, Devourer. You have existed long enough to see patterns that even I might miss. A sound emerges from Galactus, something that might, in a being capable of such emotion, be interpreted as laughter. You seek counsel from Galactus? You are either the wisest being I have encountered in eons, or the most foolish. Perhaps both simultaneously. He begins to fade, his manifestation withdrawing from Earth's orbital space. I will observe your actions in this cosmos, Emperor of mankind. You have earned that much interest. But know this, if your presence threatens the balance I am sworn to maintain, I will consume you as I have consumed worlds beyond counting. Your power is impressive, but it is not infinite. And my hunger has no end. The devourer of worlds vanishes, leaving the Emperor floating alone against the stars, contemplating the warning of a being who might be the closest thing to a peer he has found in this strange new universe. You descend with the Emperor as he returns to Earth's surface, but your awareness splits part following the golden figure as he touches down once more at the Xavier Mansion, part racing across electronic networks to a fortified bunker 300 feet beneath the Triskelion. There, in a room lined with vibranium plating and psionic dampeners stolen from 3 different alien civilizations, Nick Fury sits before a wall of monitors that have been displaying nothing but static for the past 4 hours. Every satellite shield has pointed at the Emperor shows the same. Result: overwhelming luminosity that burns out optical sensors. Electromagnetic interference that reduces radio transmissions to white noise. Gravitational anomalies that make accurate targeting impossible. The most advanced surveillance technology humanity has developed, augmented by reverse-engineered scroll sensors and Kree detection arrays, cannot penetrate the psychic shroud that surrounds the master of mankind like a second skin. "Maria," Fury says, his single eye never leaving the screens. "What's our current threat assessment?" Maria Hill stands at parade rest behind him, tablet in hand, expression carved from stone. "Category Omega, sir. Beyond any previously established parameters. The Hawk registers as Category 4 on our threat scale. Thor peaks at Category 6. Based on observed capabilities, this entity is Category 10 minimum. Possibly higher. There is no Category 10, Agent Hill." "There is now, sir." Fury leans back in his chair, fingers steepled before him. You perceive the calculations running through his mind, not the panicked scrambling of a man out of his depth, but the cold assessment of a warrior who has survived wars, both public and secret, who has contingency plans for contingency plans, who trusts no one completely and everyone just enough. He has protocols for alien invasion, protocols for time travel paradoxes, protocols for the day the Avengers turn against humanity. But he has nothing for this, a being who claims dominion over mankind itself, who speaks of shepherding the species through evolutionary transcendence, whether it consents or not. "Activate Fortress Protocol 7, Fury commands. Worldwide. Across the globe, shield installations shift into maximum defensive posture. Helicarriers rise from concealed bunkers, their repulsor engines carrying them to optimal altitude for rapid response deployment. Underground vaults open, releasing weapons that officially do not exist: gamma bombs built from Banner's research, Tesseract-powered cannons reverse-engineered from Hydra technology. Even a single prototype device based on PIM particles that could theoretically shrink an enemy to subatomic scale. Every SHIELD agent receives an encrypted message containing 2 words: Hercules fallen. It means humanity faces a threat potentially greater than anything in recorded history. You observe Fury, accessing files marked with clearance levels that supposedly don't exist. Project Exodus evacuation plans for key personnel to off-world safe houses established after the Chitauri invasion. Project Ragnarok, the systematic destruction of all advanced technology to prevent it falling into enemy hands. Project Tabula Rasa, the complete memory wipe of every enhanced individual on SHIELD's registry, removing their powers by making them forget they possess them. Each plan more desperate than the last. Each one an admission that humanity might lose whatever conflict approaches. "Sir," an analyst speaks up from a nearby workstation. "We're receiving reports of spontaneous genuflection events worldwide. Random individuals dropping to their knees, claiming they feel compelled to honor the Emperor. Preliminary analysis suggests these are all latent psychics, people with dormant telepathic or empathic abilities who are responding to his presence whether they consciously perceive it or not." Fury stands, moving to the analyst station with the controlled pace of a man who refuses to show fear, even when fear would be the rational response. "How many?" "Conservative estimate, 40,000 and climbing." Rio de Janeiro reports entire city blocks kneeling simultaneously. Moscow has declared martial law after half the Kremlin staff prostrated themselves. The effect seems strongest in population centers, but is spreading to rural areas as well. You perceive the technical mechanism behind these genuflection events. The Emperor's psychic presence operates at a frequency that resonates with specific neural pathways in psychically sensitive individuals. The hippocampus experiences microseizures that trigger motor responses associated with submission behaviors inherited from humanity's evolutionary past. It is not mind control, precisely, but rather an activation of pre-existing neurological programming that recognizes alpha dominance at a biological level. The fact that the Emperor might not even be consciously causing this effect makes it more terrifying rather than less. "Get me a line to Wakanda," Fury orders. If anyone has technology that might shield against psychic influence, it's them. As the connection establishes, you sense Fury's mind working through permutations. He knows conventional weapons are useless. The Emperor demonstrated that when he casually neutralized the Avengers. Nuclear weapons would likely prove equally ineffective against someone who treats gravity as a suggestion. Even exotic options like the Infinity Stones might not work assuming they could gather them. Assuming the Emperor didn't simply take them first. Assuming reality warping. Artifacts from this universe would even affect a being from another cosmos entirely. T'Challa's image appears on the primary screen. The Black Panther still in full regalia despite the late hour in Wakanda. Director Fury, I assume you're calling about our visitor from beyond. I need options, Your Majesty. My analysts tell me conventional response is impossible. My psychics, the few S.H.I.E.L.D. has on payroll, are either catatonic from proximity, overload, or babbling about golden light burning through dimensions. I have 40,000 civilians kneeling in the streets, and that number doubles every hour. If this continues, we'll have complete societal breakdown within days. T'Challa nods slowly. We have been monitoring. The Panther God is agitated. It speaks of an ancient presence, older than earthly gods, shaped by suffering into something beyond divine or mortal classification. Our vibranium resonates at frequencies that suggest reality itself bends around this being. Can you stop him? Stop him? T'Challa's expression is grave. Director, our entire arsenal, every sonic weapon, every vibranium construct, every piece of technology we have developed or hidden would amount to throwing pebbles at a mountain. But we might be able to shield against his passive influence. Vibranium's unique properties could theoretically create null zones, where his psychic presence cannot penetrate. Some scholars in the 41st millennium theorize that certain materials naturally resist psychic influence, blackstone, used in the construction of the Cadian pylons, or the null metal employed by the Galactus assassins. The technical specifications remain classified at the highest levels of the Inquisition, but the principle seems consistent across realities. Specific atomic configurations can create spaces where psychic energy simply fails to propagate. How long to deploy? Fury asks. To protect key installations? Days to shield population centers? Months to cover the entire planet? Impossible with current resources. Fury turns back to the static-filled monitors. Then we need another solution. Something that doesn't require us to fight a god. He claims not to be a god. Maria Hill interjects. Anyone who can make 40,000 people kneel with their presence alone is close enough to divine for tactical purposes. Fury responds. The question is whether he's a god we can negotiate with, or one we need to find a way to kill. On the screens, through the static, a golden glow begins to penetrate. The Emperor has sensed S.H.I.E.L.D. scrutiny, has felt Fury's assessment from across the planet, and has decided to provide clarity. The monitors clear, showing the Emperor's face in perfect resolution. Despite the technical impossibility, every camera in the Triskelion displaying the same image simultaneously. Nicholas Joseph Fury, the Emperor speaks, his voice emerging from every speaker in the facility. You prepare for war against me. This is wisdom. A leader who does not prepare for all possibilities is a fool. But know this, I am not your enemy unless you make me so. I come offering evolution, not extinction. Unity, not enslavement. Consider carefully which you choose. The image fades, the monitors returning to static, and Nick Fury stands in his bunker considering options that grow fewer by the hour. You watch as the Emperor's consciousness expands beyond the confines of Earth, reaching across the cosmos with tendrils of psychic perception that search for specific resonances, artifacts of such power that they warp reality simply by existing. He has heard strange speak of them, has felt their echoes in the Celestials' memories, has observed their influence in the fundamental structure of this universe. The Infinity Stones. 6 fragments of primordial power, each governing an aspect of existence itself. And scattered across the galaxy, they call to him like beacons in the dark. The Space Stone pulses in Asgard's vault, its blue radiance contained within the Tesseract's geometric prison. The Emperor perceives it as a wound in space-time, similar to the dimensional gates he once built beneath the Imperial Palace. Portals that could cross impossible distances without touching the hell dimension between. The Reality Stone, currently hidden in its liquid ether form, flows through dimensional pockets that even Odin has forgotten. The Power Stone rests on Mirag, abandoned in its orb, waiting for someone foolish enough to claim it. The Mind Stone, the Emperor pauses, sensing its presence on Earth itself, embedded in a scepter that still carries traces of the Mad Titan's influence. The Time Stone rests against Strange's chest, wrapped in the eye of Agamotto's protective enchantments. And the Soul Stone remains hidden on Vormir, demanding a price that has nothing to do with power and everything to do with loss. The Emperor manifests, a psychic projection of himself, in Stark's workshop, where Tony has been analyzing readings from their encounter for the past 6 hours. The billionaire genius jumps, nearly dropping the holographic display he's been manipulating, as golden light coalesces into the Emperor's towering form. "We need to discuss the Infinity Stones," the Emperor states without preamble. Stark recovers quickly, his mind already racing through implications. "You know about them." "Of course you do. You probably knew about them before you even arrived in our reality. I recognized their signatures the moment I entered this cosmos. They are remarkably similar to something from my own reality, fragments of a greater whole that was broken to prevent catastrophic misuse." The Emperor extends his hand, and golden energy shapes itself into a 3-dimensional map of spiraling tunnels that seem to exist in impossible spaces. This was the Webway. Or rather, this was what the Webway was meant to become before Magnus the Red destroyed it with a single act of misguided sorcery. You perceive the technical elegance of what the Emperor displays: a network of passages existing partially outside real space, protected from the warp's influence by techno-arcane wards that humanity had not possessed the knowledge to create for 20,000 years. The Old Ones, that ancient race that preceded all others, had built the original Webway millions of years before humanity's ancestors descended from trees. The Emperor had discovered fragments of it during the Dark Age of technology, had spent centuries studying its construction, and had finally begun building humanity's own additions to the network. These tunnels would have allowed instantaneous travel across the galaxy without entering the warp, the Emperor explains, manipulating the projection to show theoretical trade routes, military deployments, colonial expansions. No need for navigators to guide ships through hell. No risk of Geller field failure and demonic incursion. No limitation on expansion except humanity's own ambition. What happened to it? Stark asks, his engineer's mind already analyzing the construction principles, filing away concepts that might prove useful. "My son happened to it." The Emperor's voice carries millennia of regret compressed into 4 words. "Magnus, Primarch of the Thousand Sons Legion, attempted to warn me of Horus's impending betrayal. The traditional means of communication across interstellar distances were too slow, too unreliable. So he used sorcery, the very practice I had forbidden at the Council of Nicaea in 1M31, to project his consciousness directly to Terra. In doing so, he breached every ward I had placed around the Webway project. The resulting psychic shockwave not only destroyed decades of work, but opened a permanent rift beneath the Imperial Palace itself. The Emperor pauses, and when he continues, his tone shifts to analytical. The Infinity Stones represent a similar principle: ultimate power divided to prevent ultimate catastrophe. Together, they grant omnipotence within this reality. Separated, they are merely devastating rather than absolute. Someone in your cosmos's past understood the danger of concentrated power and chose distribution over consolidation. The Big Bang, Stark suggests. Our cosmic theories suggest the stones formed from 6 singularities that existed before the universe began. Maybe they were separated at the moment of creation specifically to prevent anyone from reuniting them. A wise precaution. The Emperor's projection flickers, shifting to display the stones themselves, each one rendered in perfect detail despite the impossibility of perceiving some of them from Earth. The Space Stone would have made the Webway redundant, one artifact accomplishing what required an entire network of techno-psychic construction. The Reality Stone could reshape matter at the quantum level, making the gene-forging techniques of mycelinar cults seem crude. The Time Stone offers tactical advantages that would make prescient psychers obsolete. And you want them, Stark states rather than asks. I want to understand them. Power without understanding is the path to corruption, a lesson my sons never learned. The Emperor focuses on the Time Stone's representation, and you sense him reaching out psychically towards Strange's sanctum, probing the artifact's defenses with invisible fingers of thought. Your Sorcerer Supreme guards his stone well. The enchantments are impressive, though they rely too heavily on dimensional barriers that someone with sufficient psychic might could simply bypass. Strange's voice echoes through the workshop, though he remains physically absent. I would strongly advise against attempting to take the Time Stone, Emperor. The consequences would cascade across timelines you cannot perceive from your current temporal position. I have no intention of taking it, Sorcerer. I merely observe. The stone contains temporal energies similar to those employed by the Ordo Chronos, an inquisitorial faction in my reality that attempted to weaponize time itself. They disappeared entirely during the year 978, M41, taking all records of their research with them. Imperial records are fragmented about whether they succeeded in their experiments or were erased from causality by their failure. The Emperor's projection shifts again, now showing a direct comparison between the 6 stones and 6 aspects of his own power. The Space Stone mirrors my ability to project my consciousness across galactic distances. The Mind Stone reflects my psychic dominion over lesser wills. The Reality Stone echoes my capacity to reshape matter through applied thought. The Power Stone channels destructive force, similar to what I unleash when truly pressed. The Time Stone offers precognitive abilities I possess naturally through warp sight. And the Soul Stone. He pauses, and for the first time since arriving in this reality, the Emperor seems genuinely uncertain. The Soul Stone disturbs me, he admits. It demands sacrifice, not of enemies or resources, but of love itself. It requires the destruction of the very bonds I spent millennia teaching humanity to suppress in favor of loyalty to the species entire. In my reality, I eliminated love as weakness. Here, a cosmic artifact makes it the ultimate currency of power. Stark studies the Emperor's expression, reading emotions and features that should be unreadable. Maybe that's the point. Maybe power that requires you to destroy what you love is power that shouldn't be wielded. Or perhaps, the Emperor counters, it is a test of commitment. The ultimate question of whether you value personal attachment over universal authority. I made that choice long ago. I sacrificed my humanity to become humanity's guardian. The Soul Stone would merely formalize what I had already accomplished through will alone. The projection fades, leaving Stark alone with troubling thoughts about stones that should remain scattered and powers that should remain unclaimed. You feel the shift in the Emperor's attention as something calls to him from beyond the material realm, not the urgent scream of the warp he knows so well, but something subtler, more insidious. Whispers from dimensions adjacent to reality, places where physical law becomes negotiable and consciousness itself takes on substance. The dark dimension pulses at the edge of his perception, and behind it, like shadows cast by shadows, other realms make their presence known. Hell dimensions ruled by beings that style themselves as demons. Pocket universes where entropy runs backward. Planes of existence where thought becomes form, but lacks the raw, primal horror of the immaterium. The Emperor stands alone now on a mountainside in Tibet, having departed Stark's workshop to seek solitude for this investigation. The location is not random. Here the barriers between dimensions grow thin, worn down by centuries of mystic practice and meditation. Monasteries dot the surrounding peaks, their inhabitants long accustomed to strange lights in the sky, and visitors who arrive through doors that shouldn't exist. The Emperor extends his consciousness outward, not physically but psychically, letting his awareness drift across dimensional membranes like fingers trailing through water. The dark dimension responds first, recognizing a kindred power. Dormammu's realm spreads before the Emperor's psychic sight, an infinite expanse of crystalline structures and inverted geometries where time has no meaning because Dormammu has devoured the concept itself. You perceive the Emperor's assessment as he studies this place, comparing it to the domains of the chaos gods he has warred against for millennia. Where Khorne's realm is brass fortresses atop mountains of skulls, where Nurgle's garden rots and blooms in endless cycles of decay. Dormammu's dimension is oddly sterile, powerful, yes, but lacking the fundamental connection to mortal emotion that makes chaos truly dangerous. You interest me. Outsider. The voice comes from everywhere and nowhere, reality bending to accommodate Dormammu's attention. The Emperor does not flinch as a massive face materializes in the air before him, composed of dark energy and malevolent will. Eyes that burn with purple flame, a mouth that could swallow suns. This is Dormammu as he presents himself to those he wishes to intimidate. A projection calculated to inspire terror and submission. Dormammu, the Emperor acknowledges, his tone carrying neither fear nor respect, merely recognition. Lord of the Dark Dimension, conqueror of universes, consumer of realities. You wear many titles, but you are, fundamentally, a parasite that requires material realms to sustain your existence. The face contorts, anger rippling through its features. You dare? I am eternal. I have existed since before the stars of your universe ignited. I have conquered dimensions beyond counting. And yet you are bound, the Emperor observes, his psychic senses penetrating deeper into the dark dimension structure. You can only enter material reality through invitation or bargain. You require agents to open doors from the inside. The Ancient One held you at bay for centuries with knowledge and will alone. You are powerful, Dormammu, but you are also limited in ways the chaos gods of my reality would find amusing. You witness the Emperor's comparison with technical precision. The chaos gods exist in the warped dimension that parallels real space perfectly, touching it at every point simultaneously. Every emotion felt by sentient beings feeds them directly. Every psychic emanation strengthens their hold. They do not need permission to influence reality. They seep through the cracks in sanity, manifest through unprotected thoughts, birth themselves from collective unconscious fears. A single unguarded psyker can become a doorway for demonic legions. A planet's worth of despair can spontaneously manifest a greater demon. Dormammu, by contrast, operates under restrictions that would seem quaint to Tzeentch or Slaanesh. He must be summoned. Barriers must be deliberately lowered. Protections must be consciously abandoned. It is the difference between a flood that requires someone to open the dam and water that simply rises through the ground wherever it finds weakness. Your reality's demons are unbound? Dormammu asks, genuine curiosity replacing anger. They walk freely among mortals? They do more than walk. They corrupt reality itself through proximity. A demon of Nurgle does not simply kill, it transforms the very concept of life into diseased parody. A demon of Tzeentch does not merely deceive, it makes truth itself mutable, turning certainty into paradox. They are not beings in any sense you understand. They are malevolent ideas given form, concepts that hunt, philosophies that hunger. The Emperor extends his hand, and golden light shapes itself into a scene from his memory, the siege of Terra in the final days of the Horus Heresy. You see demons pouring through reality tears, not summoned but simply arriving wherever the barrier grew thin. Bloodletters manifesting from spilled vita, plague bearers emerging from infected wounds, daemonettes birthing themselves from dying screams. The Imperial Palace's walls running with impossible colors as the warp bled through, turning stone into flesh and then back into stone that remembered being meat. Fascinating, Dormammu breathes. And there is something like envy in his tone. Such freedom, such direct access to the material plane. Your demons are more fortunate than they know. They are not demons, the Emperor corrects. They are something worse. Demons, as you understand them, are entities with their own existence that choose malevolence. The Neverborn of Chaos were never born at all. They are psychic tumors that achieved consciousness, emotional cancers that learn to think. They exist because sentient beings feel, and as long as sentient beings feel, they cannot be truly destroyed. The Emperor's consciousness probes deeper into the dimensional structure around Earth, identifying other realms of interest. Mephisto's Hell, burning with sulfur and ancient bargains. Hela's realm of the dishonored dead, neither properly alive nor truly deceased. The dream dimension where nightmare holds court over sleeping minds. Each one distinct, each one ruled by an entity with its own personality and goals. Each one bound by rules that prevent unlimited intrusion into material reality. Your dimensional parasites are remarkably civilized, the Emperor observes. They make bargains that they honor mostly. They accept banishment when properly defeated. They even occasionally show mercy when it serves their purposes. The ruinous powers of my reality would consume them all without thought, not from malice, but from simple incompatibility. Chaos does not bargain. Chaos does not accept limits. Chaos simply is, and everything it touches becomes chaos in turn. Then how do you fight them? Dormammu asks, and there is genuine interest in the question. Through absolute control. Through the systematic suppression of psychic emergence. Through an imperial truth that denies them the worship that makes them stronger. Through the sacrifice of billions to save trillions. The Emperor pauses, and you sense calculations running through his vast consciousness probability assessments. Tactical evaluations, strategic projections. But perhaps, in this reality where dimensional threats operate under negotiable rules, different strategies might prove effective. He turns his attention to the dimensional barriers themselves, studying their construction with the eye of someone who once built the most sophisticated psychic defenses in his galaxy. Your reality's separation between dimensions is more elegant than ours, cleaner. The barriers can be strengthened or weakened, but rarely disappear entirely. This suggests deliberate design rather than natural. Evolution, someone or something, structured these divisions intentionally. Some scholars in the Emperor's reality theorize that the warp was not always the hell it became. That in the universe's youth, it was a calm mirror of real space where the dreams of primitive species played out in harmless abstraction. Only when the war in heaven between the Necrontyr and the Old Ones raged for millions of years Only when countless species died in agony and terror did the warp transform into the nightmare realm the 41st millennium knows. The records are fragmented on this point, deliberately obscured by parties with interests in hiding the truth. Dormammu's presence begins to withdraw, but not before offering a final observation. You speak of your demons as if they have already won, Emperor, as if their victory is inevitable. In my reality, perhaps it is. The Golden Throne fails a little more each day. The Astronomicon dims despite the sacrifice of ever more psychers to fuel it. The Cicatrix Maledictum, the Great Rift, has torn the galaxy in half, allowing the warp to bleed freely into real space. Humanity endures, but it does not thrive. It has not thrived for 10,000 years. And yet you continue to fight. I continue to fight because the alternative is to accept humanity's extinction. And that, Dormammu, I will never do. The dark dimension recedes from his perception, leaving the Emperor standing on the Tibetan mountainside, contemplating dimensions where evil can be bargained with rather than simply endured. You follow the Emperor as he returns to New York, materializing atop the Statue of Liberty in a cascade of golden light. The torch beside him flickers with borrowed luminosity, responding to his presence the way iron filings respond to a magnet. He has chosen this location deliberately, a symbol of a freedom he finds quaint, positioned at the gateway to a city that considers itself the capital of human achievement. From here, he can perceive the entire eastern seaboard, his consciousness extending outward to encompass the millions of souls who sleep fitfully below. Disturbed by dreams, they will not remember of golden light and towering authority. The Emperor begins to speak, though no human ear is close enough to hear. His words project across psychic channels, reaching the minds of every significant power on Earth simultaneously. You perceive them receiving this vision: Fury in his bunker, Strange in his sanctum, Xavier in his school, Stark in his workshop. Even Magneto, brooding in his asteroid fortress, feels the Emperor's consciousness brush against his own. I will tell you how I would remake this world, the Emperor declares, so that you understand what you face if you choose opposition. The vision he shares is comprehensive, detailed, merciless. You watch it unfold like a hololithic display in a Crusade-era war council. Tactical icons representing assets to be deployed, resources to be claimed, populations to be reorganized. The Emperor has spent his hours on Earth not merely observing but planning, sketching the framework of an imperium. Secundus that could rise from this realities. Foundations within a single human generation. The United Nations would become the Council of Terra, a governing body, stripped of national allegiance, serving humanity rather than artificial borders. Your current political structures would dissolve, replaced by regional administration zones optimized for resource distribution and population management. Those who resist would be offered a single opportunity for compliance before being categorized as enemies of the species. He gestures, and the vision shifts to show military reorganization. Your conventional armed forces would be consolidated into a single, defensive hierarchy, the armies of Earth. Your enhanced individuals would form the core of a new warrior caste, analogous to the Legiones Astartes in function, if not in biological composition. Tony Stark would oversee technological development, his genius harnessed to create standardized war gear for humanity's defenders rather than boutique equipment for individual heroes. His arc reactor technology alone could power a civilization for millennia if properly distributed. The Emperor's consciousness touches each of the individuals he mentions, letting them feel the roles he envisions for them. Captain America would command the human forces, his tactical acumen and moral authority make him the ideal figurehead for baseline humanity's contribution to species defense. But he would learn that some battles require compromises his current philosophy rejects. He would grow, or he would be replaced. You sense Steve Rogers receiving this pronouncement in the Avengers compound, his jaw tightening at the casual assumption that he could be made to compromise principles he has died to uphold. The Emperor notes his resistance without concern. Such resistance has been overcome before, through persuasion or through time, or through the simple reality that alternatives prove worse. Thor and the Asgardians present a diplomatic challenge. They cannot be integrated into human command structures without diminishing both their effectiveness and their willingness to serve. I would establish them as auxiliary forces allied but independent, called upon for specific threats beyond human capability. Odin's wisdom would be valued in council, even if his philosophical objections would require patient correction over decades. The vision expands to show the mutant population. And here the Emperor's plans grow more complex. Charles Xavier has built the foundations of a psychic training program that could, with proper expansion, manage humanity's emerging telepaths and reality shapers. His school would become the template for hundreds of similar institutions worldwide. Compulsory enrollment for all manifesting mutants. Rigorous mental discipline. Graduated licensing for psychic ability usage. Those who cannot be controlled would be contained. Those who cannot be contained would be neutralized. You perceive Xavier's horror at hearing his dream of voluntary education twisted into mandatory conscription. The Emperor does not pause to address his concerns. He has heard such objections from 1,000 planetary governors during the Great Crusade. And he has learned that showing mercy to such objections merely prolongs the argument. Magneto would be offered a choice that I suspect would intrigue him: serve as the enforcement arm for mutant compliance, or be destroyed. His power over electromagnetic fields makes him the ideal warden for his own kind. His history of persecution would lend credibility to his authority among mutants who distrust baseline humanity. And his ruthlessness, properly directed, could accomplish what Xavier's gentle methods never will: true integration through the elimination of those who cannot or will not adapt. The image of Eric Lenscher leading teams of mutant enforcers flickers across the shared vision, and you sense Magneto's reaction, not outrage, as one might expect, but dark consideration. The Emperor has read him correctly. There is a part of Magneto that has always believed peace, through strength, was the only realistic option. The Fantastic Four would become humanity's primary exploratory and research division, the rogue traders of this new imperium, granted license to venture beyond Earth's boundaries and return with technologies, resources, and knowledge. Reed Richards' intellect rivals any Magos I have encountered, but his ambition requires constraint. Left unchecked, his dimensional experiments risk breaching barriers that should remain sealed. I would harness that brilliance while preventing catastrophe. The Emperor turns his attention to those typically classified as villains, and here his vision becomes most controversial. Victor Von Doom controls a nation-state with technological resources rivaling Stark's enterprise. His ego prevents cooperation under normal circumstances, but his ego also provides leverage. Offer him a position of genuine authority governance of Europe's technological development. Perhaps and his genius becomes an asset rather than a recurring crisis. The alternative is his destruction, which would waste potential that humanity cannot afford to squander. You watch Doom receive this proposition in his Latharian castle, his iron mask concealing whatever expression crosses his scarred features. Some records from the Emperor's own timeline suggest that similar bargains were struck during the Unification Wars. Warlords and techno-barbarians offered positions in the New Order rather than extermination. The records are fragmented about how many such bargains were honored once their usefulness expired. Norman Osborn, Wilson Fisk, Emma Frost, each possesses resources and capabilities that could serve humanity if properly motivated. Their criminal enterprises would be redirected towards species survival. Their moral flexibility, so problematic under current social structures, becomes advantageous when serving absolute purpose. Even monsters can be useful, provided they understand the consequences of disloyalty. The Emperor's vision reaches its culmination, showing an Earth unified, militarized, and prepared for threats beyond its current imagination. Helicarriers bearing the Aquila, enhanced soldiers in standardized armor bearing the lightning bolt of unified humanity. Psychic choirs singing the Astronomican's equivalent into existence, a beacon that could call for aid across dimensional barriers. Forge complexes churning out weapons based on the combined technologies of Stark, Wakanda, and Latveria. This is what I could build in 20 years, the Emperor concludes. A humanity prepared to survive what comes next. It would cost lives, yes. Freedom, certainly. The comfortable illusions you call rights and liberties would dissolve under the pressure of necessary reorganization. But your species would endure. That, in the end, is the only metric that matters. The vision fades, leaving Earth's defenders to contemplate a future none of them would choose, but which none of them can dismiss as impossible. You sense the shift in the Emperor's contemplation as he withdraws from the strategic vision he has shared, turning his thoughts inward towards something more personal. He remains atop the Statue of Liberty, the city's lights reflected in his golden armor, but his attention has drifted across time and memory to suns lost and legions scattered. 20 primarchs he created in the Jing laboratories beneath the Himalayan mountains in the years before the Great Crusade. 20 masterworks of genetic engineering, each designed to exemplify a specific aspect of warfare, leadership, and human potential. Half of them betrayed him. Many of the rest are dead or missing. And now, standing in a universe where none of them exist, the Emperor finds himself cataloging the heroes of this Earth according to a framework that has shaped his thinking for millennia. You follow his consciousness as it touches each of the champions he has encountered, measuring them against the templates of his absent sons. Thor Odinson draws the Emperor's attention first, and the comparison emerges almost unbidden. Sanguinius, the great angel, primarch of the Blood Angels Legion. Both possess beauty that transcends physical form, a nobility of spirit that inspires devotion rather than merely demanding obedience. Sanguinius bore white wings that marked him as angelic even among the demigod primarchs. Thor's cape and hammer carry similar symbolic weight, marking him as something more than mortal, something worthy of legend. The Blood Angels numbered approximately 120,000 warriors at the height of their strength, in 5M31, each one carrying a fragment of their father's genetic perfection, and each one haunted by the red thirst that lurked in their blood, a flaw the Emperor never admitted creating deliberately. Thor lacks that particular darkness, but he carries his own burdens, the weight of a throne he is not yet ready to claim. The shadow of a father whose approval shapes his every action. The Hulk requires no contemplation. His comparison crystallizes instantly. Angren, the Red Angel, primarch of the World Eaters. Both are beings of pure rage, their consciousness overwhelmed by neurological modifications that make peace impossible. The butcher's nails that the slavers of Nuceria hammered into Angren's skull robbed him of any emotion except fury, any satisfaction except violence. Banner's transformation operates through different mechanisms: gamma radiation, rather than archaeotech implants, but the result echoes across realities. Raw destructive potential yoked to a mind that cannot fully control it. The Emperor had always known Angren was broken beyond repair, had kept him functional only because broken weapons still cut. Looking at the Hulk, he recognizes the same tragic utility. Captain America presents a more complex assessment. In some ways, Steve Rogers mirrors Robert Gilliman, primarch of the Ultramarines, the tactical theorist, the builder of institutions, the warrior who understands that battles are won through logistics as much as courage. Gilliman authored the Codex Astartes in the years following the heresy, fragmenting the legions into chapters to prevent any future commander from wielding enough power to threaten the Imperium entire. It was an act of supreme pragmatism that many considered betrayal of the Crusades' original vision. Some scholars claim Rogers possesses similar capacity for necessary compromise, though his public persona suggests otherwise. The records are fragmented on whether his wartime service included decisions as morally complex as Guilliman's post-heresy reforms, yet Rogers also carries echoes of Rogel Dorn, the Praetorian of Terra, that absolute, unyielding commitment to principle that makes him both humanity's finest defender and potentially its most dangerous liability. Dorn held the Imperial Palace against Horus's traitor legions for 55 days of continuous siege, refusing to retreat, refusing to negotiate, refusing to acknowledge the possibility of defeat even as reality crumbled around him. Rogers would do the same. The Emperor is certain of it, and he is uncertain whether that certainty comforts or concerns him. Tony Stark invites comparison to multiple Primarchs, none of them perfect fits. His technological genius mirrors Ferrus Manus of the Iron Hands, the cold logic, the belief that flesh is weak and must be augmented by machine. Ferrus's silvered hands, bonded to his arms in the forges of Medusa, symbolized his philosophy that improvement through technology was humanity's highest calling. Stark's arc reactor serves a similar function, a mechanical heart that keeps him alive while simultaneously enabling his greatest achievements. But Stark lacks Ferrus's coldness. There is too much passion in him, too much need for approval, too much of what the Emperor would classify as emotional weakness. Perhaps Perturabo, Primarch of the Iron Warriors, offers a closer parallel brilliance overshadowed by bitterness, genius that resents its lack of recognition, creativity twisted by the perception that others receive praise while he receives only burdens. Perturabo built the greatest fortresses in the Imperium and was rewarded with siege duty, grinding attrition that destroyed his legion's numbers, while more favored sons earned glory in cleaner victories. The Emperor perceives similar resentment lurking beneath Stark's performative confidence, a conviction that the world has never fully appreciated what he sacrifices to protect it. Doctor Strange requires no extended analysis. He is Magnus the Red Reborn in more cautious form, the seeker of forbidden knowledge, the master of powers that others fear, the scholar who believes understanding can tame even the darkest forces. Magnus shattered the webway with sorcery born from good intentions. Strange has bargained with Dormammu and emerged with his soul intact. The difference is instructive. Perhaps Magnus, trained under Strange's discipline rather than left to discover the warp's secrets alone, might never have fallen. Perhaps not. The Emperor has learned to distrust such counterfactual speculation. Wolverine's feral nature and regenerative immortality echo Lemon Russ, the Wolf King of Fenris savage warriors who cultivate bestial personas while hiding surprising depth beneath the violence. Both serve as executioners when execution is required. Both bear the psychological scars of kills they cannot forget. Both would die without hesitation for those they consider pack. Black Panther's secret kingdom and honorable rulership mirror Lion L. Johnson, Primarch of the Dark Angels warriors who kept their own counsel, who protected hidden realms, who balanced duty to humanity with duty to their own people. The Lion guarded secrets that would have shattered the Imperium's faith in its defenders. T'Challa guards vibranium that could arm or destroy civilizations. Black Widow and Hawkeye together suggest Alpheus and Omegon, the twin Primarchs of the Alpha Legion operatives who work in shadows, whose true loyalties remain perpetually ambiguous, who accomplish through subtlety what others require armies to achieve. And then there is Dr. Doom. The Emperor contemplates Victor Von Doom for a long moment, finding no single Primarch who captures his particular combination of traits. Doom possesses Lorgar's desperate need for meaning beyond material achievement, Perturbo's bitter genius, Magnus's hunger for forbidden's power. and Horus's absolute conviction that he alone is fit to rule. In another reality, Doom might have been a primarch or might have been the catalyst that united them against a common threat. The Emperor catalogs these comparisons not for sentiment, but for strategy. If you were to build a new Imperium here, these would be his tools, imperfect, unpredictable, but capable of greatness if properly guided. The question that remains is whether they would accept his guidance, or whether this universe would see its own heresy unfold. You watch as the Emperor rises from the Statue of Liberty, ascending into the night sky above New York until the city becomes a grid of lights far below, until the curve of the Earth becomes visible, until he hovers at the edge of atmosphere where stars burn undimmed by atmospheric interference. He has spent 47 hours in this universe, less than 2 full rotations of this planet around its axis, and in that time he has assessed its threats, catalogued its champions, designed its conquest, and contemplated its potential. Now suspended between the world he might claim and the void that separates all things, the Emperor of Mankind renders his judgment. You sense the weight of that deliberation as it moves through his consciousness. In his own reality, such calculations determine the fate of worlds, the difference between compliance and extermination, between integration and virus bombing, between populations that would thrive under imperial rule and those that would be erased from history, so completely that even their names would be forgotten. The remembrancers who documented the Great Crusade, in its early years recorded over 200 instances of planetary extinction ordered by the Emperor or his primarchs in the first decade alone. Some worlds resisted integration and were destroyed as examples. Others harbored Xenos contamination too deep to cleanse. Still others simply possessed resources more valuable than their populations. Their people sacrificed to fuel the Crusade's expansion. The records are fragmented about how many of those decisions haunted the Emperor. In the quiet moments between campaigns, this universe presents different variables. The threats here are containable. Powerful beings who nonetheless operate within rules. Dimensional horrors who must be invited before they can intrude. Cosmic entities who balance destruction with creation rather than pursuing pure entropy. The Chaos Gods do not lurk behind every unguarded thought. The warp does not hunger for every unprotected soul. Humanity here faces challenges, certainly, but challenges that do not require the total militarization of civilization to survive. They have the luxury of heroes rather than merely soldiers, the privilege of moral complexity rather than simple species survival. The Emperor considers conquest. It would be simple enough to accomplish. 47 hours have revealed every significant power on this earth, and none of them could stand against his full attention for more than moments. He could crush the Avengers, subjugate the X-Men, bend S.H.I.E.L.D. to his will, and establish dominion over the planet within a week. Within a month, he could have this Earth's industries retooled for war production. Within a year, he could begin expansion to the stars, claiming this universe's scattered human colonies and alien territories for a new Imperium that would never know the corruption of chaos. But conquest would require his presence, his guidance, his unending attention to prevent the degradation that claimed his original Imperium the moment he was confined to the Golden Throne. And his presence here means his absence there, his consciousness already stretched thin across dimensional barriers. A fragment maintaining the seal beneath the Imperial Palace, while another fragment walks this strange new cosmos. He cannot abandon his original humanity to save another iteration of the species. The mathematics of suffering do not permit such trade. The Emperor considers alliance, a formal compact between realities, his knowledge and power offered in exchange for resources this universe might provide. The Infinity Stones, perhaps, their reality-shaping potential turned toward repairing the Golden Throne or completing the Webway project that Magnus's folly destroyed. Or simply soldiers, enhanced individuals who might cross dimensional barriers to fight. Beside the Imperium's defenders against the endless tide of chaos, Strange's sorcerers learning to battle demons, Thor's Asgardians standing alongside custodians, the Avengers themselves, transplanted to a war that would make their previous conflicts seem like children's games. But alliance requires trust, and the Emperor has never trusted anyone completely, not his custodians, not his primarchs, not even the Sigillite who served as his closest advisor for millennia. Malkador the Sigillit died holding the Golden Throne during the final hours of the Siege of Terra in 14M31, his body crumbling to dust as the Emperor returned from his confrontation with Horus. Even that sacrifice, that ultimate loyalty, had been anticipated and planned for Malkador, serving a function rather than being valued as a soul. The Emperor does not know how to form alliances of equals. He knows only how to command. The Emperor considers abandonment, simply leaving, returning to his own reality, sealing the dimensional breach behind him and allowing this universe to continue on its own path. The heroes here are capable enough. The threats they face are manageable. They do not need him, not truly, and his presence has already disrupted their social fabric in ways that may take generations to heal. The 40,000 souls who knelt involuntarily at his arrival will carry psychic scars that manifest in unpredictable ways. The heroes who felt his power will question their own adequacy for the rest of their lives. Even his departure will leave marks that cannot be erased. You perceive the moment when the Emperor's judgment crystallizes, that he extends his consciousness one final time, touching every mind he has encountered during his brief sojourn in this cosmos. The touch is gentle, not the overwhelming presence of his arrival, but something closer to a whisper. A final message imprinted on memories that will fade but never entirely disappear. You are not ready for what I offer, the Emperor's thought resonates across the planet. Your universe is kinder than mine, your threats more negotiable, your hope more sustainable. Treasure these gifts while they last. Build your defenses. Train your champions. Prepare for darkness that may never come, but prepare nonetheless. I have seen what waits at the end of complacency, and it is extinction beyond imagining. A pause, and then softer. You have heroes who believe in justice rather than mere survival. Protect that belief. It is more precious than you know. In my reality, we sacrificed such idealism 10,000 years ago, and we have never recovered what was lost. The dimensional breach begins to open, golden light splitting the darkness of space. The Emperor turns toward the wound in reality that will carry him home, back to the Golden Throne. Back to the endless war. Back to suffering that has no end and duty that permits no rest. But before he departs, he leaves one final gift. Psychic knowledge implanted in the minds of those most capable of using it. Strange, Xavier, Richards, Stark. Technical specifications for technologies that might help them. Strategic assessments of threats they have not yet recognized. The location of dangers they should address before those dangers grow beyond containment. It is not salvation. It is not conquest. It is merely the gesture of a being who has fought too long to believe in happy endings, but who still remembers what it meant to hope that the Emperor of mankind passes through the breach, and the wound in reality seals behind him, leaving only the faintest golden shimmer where he once stood. Earth endures. Its heroes remain, and somewhere in a universe of endless war, a god resumes his vigil on a throne of gold and agony. And now, weary traveler, the tale draws to its close. Let the visions of war and wonder fade from your mind like morning mist beneath a gentle sun. The Emperor has departed this realm, returning to duties that span galaxies. And you have no such burdens to carry tonight. Feel the weight of the day lifting from your shoulders. The battles you have witnessed were not yours to fight. The decisions that shaped empires were not yours to make. You are here, in this moment, safe within the quiet sanctuary of rest. The void between stars is not empty. But it is peaceful, a silence so vast that even the mightiest conflicts become whispers, then echoes, then nothing at all. Picture the darkness of space, not as threat but as comfort. Imagine yourself drifting among distant nebulae, where newborn stars cast soft light across clouds of cosmic dust. There is no war here, no heresy, no desperate last stands against impossible odds. There is only the slow turning of galaxies, the patient dance of celestial bodies that have moved in harmony since before humanity first looked upward and wondered. Your duty, for now, is simply to rest, to let consciousness soften at the edges, to allow thoughts to become dreams, to surrender the waking world to those whose watch has not yet ended. The Emperor's light, whatever form it takes across infinite realities, watches over those who serve, and rest is itself a form of service, preparing mind and body for whatever tomorrow may bring. Sleep now, loyal citizen. The stars will keep their vigil while you cannot. The Emperor protects,